Welcome back to the LCS. Next up in our third game of the day, we got Team Liquid looking to take down Cloud9. I want to start on the Cloud9 side of things because 2 games into the split, and I have been so into their drafting, Emily. I am such a huge fan. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I love the fact that LS is backing up his League of Legends philosophies with what he's sending his team out onto the Rift with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coolest thing that I can think of about this draft is twofold. One, Fudge's willingness as a new mid going into this to say, I'm willing to play these champions that are maybe a little bit more funky matchup depending. But then additionally, the thing that I want to call out, and the thing that I know we're going to talk about in a little while, is how they are enabling Blaber specifically, and how he's able to play his natural play style, which I actually like a lot and is very aggressive, with the added shields and healing that he gets in these drafts.
100%. And if you just have carries that are willing to just go straight forward, and in Berserker's case, just flash over the wall as a Philios, because you know you have these enchanters that are ready to protect you. Him and Blaber have just been phenomenal with that confidence. So it's just great. I mean, you've been able to get that strategy rolling, and with the carries, who can just fire off.
And so this is where I turn to you, Mark, in terms of like how these champions are specifically enabling those threats on Cloud9.
Well, I think one thing people get confused about with the double enchanter is the idea that it's a scaling setup, when it's really not. As soon as you hit Moonstone, you're pretty broken. So in this clip, just watch how much healing Fudge does to Berserker. All those little green things getting shot out while LeTigress is trying to finish him off. The amount of healing that comes in over the course of this, you know, this is a 14-minute replay. That's like Berserker's flat HP basically gets fully healed over the course of that fight. It's insane how much value that single item gets in early game skirmishes. In both games, they actually won pre-15-minute team fights. It's not like this is a scaling comp where it's like 30 minutes, we're online. Like as soon as you get your mythics, they actually become really good at skirmishes.
I mean, over 700 health there, right? Picked up. And when you contextualize it with how much health does an AD carry have at 100% at 14 minutes into the game, you've essentially like added 50% of their health pool back onto them.
With the shielding as well and all the other parts of the kit.
Right, absolutely nutty.
And it makes it difficult for your opponents to guess what you're going to be playing next. If it's the same idea with Ivern, Soraka, if you stop that, like it always feels like there's a different strategy that hits the same idea of what Cloud9 wants to do. Of course, there's like they can fight early with the early spikes, but also scale better.
Right, it feels like they always have the option to go back to what is considered standard or meta, and we haven't even seen them be forced into that position just yet. But last week, Fudge actually spoke with LeTigress about the way that C9's playstyle has unlocked Blaber on the Rift, so let's check it out.
It is 2 back-to-back games where we're seeing a lot of the faith in the Blaber basket to carry. How much of an internal focus is that, recognizing his skill when he's on these aggressive picks and having the entire team enable him to really see it through?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, like I think Blaber is a player that's very, very good at pushing his limits. And I think when you play enchanters, you can really, really play on the very thin line and play like diving them. Like, for example, in the Victor died like in the dive. I think most junglers wouldn't go for that, but he really he understands his champion very well, and he understands my champion very well. So I think he's able to enable me to be very useful in these games, and I think that a lot of the credit should go to him as a player.
And I'm glad that we have that like confirmation from Fudge, because I feel like Blaber going into the season was a player that people still weren't sure about. For whatever reason, they still had that stupid crab meme in their heads from MSI. And I think they were undervaluing just how strong of a jungler he can be, especially on these carry champions. Like I really liked the Gwen flex, which I had seen in the LCK in a worse composition in my opinion. And then his ability to go forward, go for these plays, start off fights while being buffed is an insane boon to C9.
Crab 9 becomes Church 9.
There we go.
To me, all of this that we're watching here, all these highlights of Blaber are only magnified when we apply the lens of EG's win from earlier today. On a pick like Olaf, we've seen what investment into a top-tier jungler with a supportive team behind him can do. And so far, it's now worked wonders for both Cloud9 and EG.
And it unlocks your champion pool, where you feel like you can, counter pick more effectively as jungle, knowing that you have support from both Winsome, who's playing really well, by the way, and of course from Fudge. And so you can think about it a little bit more. Okay, is Kindred viable here now, because he is a damn aggressive player? So there are things like this, and even if you have a more standard gameplay through your jungler, Berserker is going to be able to do it. 2 games already of his Aphelios, and in both games, his team fight's been stellar.
Yeah, this guy has been phenomenal in his debut here in North America. Of course, another tough task for him up against an AD carry like Hans Sama today, but we'll see if he can step up to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this matchup go. Hans has basically been the best AD carry in EU for a while. There's a little bit of discussion there between, Upset or Reckless or whoever, but he has been an elite AD carry for a long time, even on the international stage. And so if Berserker can go and actually have a successful laning phase against him, outperform him in team fights, their stats are almost identical across the board. Like, they're number 2 and 3, and a lot of them, the damage per minute aside, they're both playing very, very well.
For us, somebody who's playing like a psychopath, he has not died yet, Berserker. So, like, I want to see what's going to happen. Both these teams are definitely going to be playing through their bot lane. They have full confidence in Hans Sama and Berserker. I just want to see that game start.
I mean, in so many ways, we've talked a lot about what Cloud9 has done successfully, because I think the onus is on Team Liquid to find a way to dismantle what Cloud9 has kind of created for themselves over the weeks. So we'll see if they can do it. You look at this star-studded lineup on Team Liquid, and you would think, if anyone can, it should be this slate of players.
This is the first time we're seeing them in studio, too, right? Is this the
True.
That's true. Why is Bwipo on stage?
Stepping onto the LCS stage for the first time in person.
I missed that smile.
am so happy to see that smile and know that it's only a couple hundred feet away. We'll see if they have what it takes to take down Cloud9 as we head back out to the arena for our Clash of Titans, Team Liquid and Cloud9.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello and welcome to the caster desk. I am Phreak. Azael, what are we?
I'm not doing it.
What are we, Azael? I am excited to cast today's games here. Team Liquid,
Someone
honestly. I'm here for you, don't worry. Whatever you ask, I'm here to help out. Team Liquid here on the blue side, Cloud9 undefeated, and I gotta say, I am just very excited to see more of Nick's drafts. And by the way, Nick is LS. I call him by his first name because we're close like that. Like, yeah, I know top coach, but it's not a big deal. I think it's just fun to see what he's been doing.
Okay. All right. Moving past that, straight into the draft.
I was talking about the drafts.
Were you?
Yeah, that was a segue.
Okay.
I want to see some more of Nick's drafts.
Yep, let's see it. Thresh Open, that's going to be staffed up here for TL. I think the question on everyone's mind is, with a week of prep, and you just have the biggest smile. You're so proud that you got that coffee pasta in there.
Yes.
So proud of yourself. Think about what you've done. The question really, I think, on everyone's mind is it going to be another Enchanter mid here? Irelia, snap locked. That could be top, that could be mid. It is a flex. My big question is just, what is TL's prep for this, right? Last week, this could have been a bit of a curveball. Obviously, that was the arrival of LS. That was the arrival of the Korean squad. In lock-in, they played more standard. They brought out Enchanters mid back-to-back games last week, so it can't take you off guard this time around, right? There was the Karma band out. Obviously, Ivor and Janna, Soraka, etc. are still all up. TL's read could also be, hey, both those teams that got an early game lead over Cloud9, they should have won, and we would win if we were playing those games. And if that's your read, you don't actually have to do anything different. You could just go Victor and try to outfarm, try to outscale. If they believe that they can outscale those enchanters, of course, C9's read is that it's okay to fall behind early when you have the power of the team fight that these enchanters do bring, and that they were still in winning positions. So it does become so exciting to see these different teams' approaches to the game and how that's really going to work out.
There's 0% chance LS lets Fudge lock this one in, obviously. I like the Garen Hyper, though.
Blind Renekton mid?
Yeah, just,
That's
well,
not the play?
Blind Renekton top. Who knows? Vigor, by the way, is very, very strong, as well as,
Okay.
ooh, we get hard farm with a Karthus,
Ooh.
almost certainly in the jungle.
It could be bot. Karthus bot
With
is
Jhin
actually
locked in?
Oh, excuse me. I'm trolling.
Hey, Jhin mid.
It could be mid, I guess. Could be jungle, but probably going to be jungle. Expecting that to be the case for sure. You are right. Of course, this would be a very different style of champion for Blaber, though. I don't really associate him with the mage style champions. When you think back to the Rumble Morgana meta, that was one that I think he kind of struggled in. It wasn't one where he was nearly as effective as he has been on a lot of these kind of aggressive melee champions. He's known more for the Lee Sin and for Olaf and things like this. This would be his first career game on Karthus. It could be Fudge playing it, though. I wouldn't be absolutely shocked, because that is kind of feeling like a bit of an LS style champion.
Sure.
But there are options here for C9 to move things around, and Zilean going to get banned out against Bjergsen. He's the only mid laner in any of the major regions that is playing it, but he had a 46 KDA last time I saw, and he hadn't lost on it, so it turns out it's a pretty good pick, at least for Bjergsen.
Yeah, he's overall 14.3 KDA.
Okay.
Outdone by, like in the season, not just Billion.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. Overall in the season, Bjergsen's at 14. Berserker's at 18, by the way. 8-0 and 10, or 10-0 and 8. Obviously doing very well. Again, less in the hard carry position here on the Jhin. But yeah, definitely a star here as we wait to see mid laners for both sides. Both teams have locked in AD carries. Both teams have locked in junglers, we presume. And now here's the support match as well. Rakan plus Jhin, very crowd control heavy.
Okay.
You can leave Jhin alone. He's decent at wave clearing after you're at like Noon Quiver. And Rakan can go make plays for someone else.
And this gives you your hard engage, right? This gives you your ability to move around the map for Winsome, to be able to pick those 5v5s when you want them. You know, I do think it's important to have primary engage when you're playing with an Irelia, unless you want to play exclusively through sides. Irelia is much better as a follow-up than actually the primary engage, generally when you're talking about 5v5. So Corki picked up there for Bjergsen. Some of his kind of flavor champions have been banned out, so he is going to go towards scaling. We're still waiting to find out, you know, what top lane is going to be. They don't know if this stuff is getting flexed around, so they're kind of just going safe. They're going standard. Should be Gragas top, Corki mid, TL, very standard stuff. And now we'll see, is this going to be a 5th pick enchanter mid, pushing Karthus into the jungle? Is it going to be, you know, a GP coming through and that being an Irelia mid? You know, what really is the take here for Cloud9? And this is going to really tell us a lot about how they want to actually play out this game.
So Irelia Corki is an absurdly Irelia favored matchup, by the way. Like, as a meta call, Irelia is there. I'm a little shocked that Bjergsen picked himself into what I believe to be an absurdly hard counter pick. Again, it was a flex pick, but that was the entire point of picking her on 2 and saving top lane for 5 to get the matchup. So he is happy to go mid. And I want to call out that this is good by C9. They read the patch notes. I mean, LS himself does a rundown every 2 weeks. And Ruined King got buffed. Ruined King is a core Irelia item. She loves that. She's happy to buy Hexdrinker against a Corki, by the way, right? Against the magic damage that's like decently here on this team. So her suite of tools got stronger. She's going to be happy to play with the new patch. Her matchup's amazing. I mean, Fudge should be in a great spot to take over the game.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting, though, because this is such a different style than what they've brought out. You know, you are playing, I think, a much more early mid-game focused comp. There's that splash up late game with maybe a hard farming Karthus here. You know, maybe you want to play side lanes and actually use the Karthus to help get you those solo kills and kind of quotation marks with obviously the assistance of that Karthus, but maybe more side lane kills with the Irelia, with the Aatrox. Aatrox is actually Summit's career most played champion. He is more known for the Gnar. That is kind of what he played a ton of last year. But career-wide, 42 games on the Aatrox. Aatrox, I have been seeing gain a little bit more popularity in solo queue. So this is going to be really, really interesting. It is actually phase rush for Bwipo on Gragas, so very likely at least going a splash of AP. Almost always you do go phase rush when you're going that route. And it is going to be Blaber having to show us something different, right? Like, can Cloud9 play that same sort of style,
right,
that they're used to playing, with Blaber kind of leading the way and starting out a lot of these fights? There's going to be way more onus on Winsome to be the guy getting that done, because Blaber generally is going to be having to play a pretty safe style. It's not like he's doing the kind of more cheesy, you know, exhaust smite Karthus where you can even, you know, get aggressive and duel out and win some of that with that early exhaust. You know, he has got to play relatively safe, look to scale, and really look to just be assisting these lanes largely with the ultimate.
I do like this look, though, right? So Karthus is the only magic damage threat on the team. Steric's Gauge as a bruiser tank item is basically dead. Very few champions should be buying it, which means you're seeing, you know, a Death Stance, or in this case, a Ruin King on Santorin, which means he's got 300 health from his Divine Sunderer and no bonus health on item 2. So he is just taking almost true damage from Karthus. He is going to get burned down. He's not going to buy MR anytime soon. He's probably not going Merc Treads here. And Blaber, as the 1 AP threat, is going to have a great time getting a ton of farm and just being a huge carry.
It'll be interesting because he is playing First Strike. He's playing Ultimate Hunter, you know, Cosmic Insight, so, you know, pretty heavily going into the CDR. And if you can get those early Ultimate Hunter stacks and you can kind of get that cooldown down, you can actually farm a hilarious amount of gold with First Strike on Karthus by kind of just ulting pretty aggressively. Of course, you don't want to just use it absolutely needlessly. You want to be able to create windows where there's threat for a kill and then drop it, at the very least to get some sort of serious lane pressure. Karthus is also one of those champions that actually really does test how well you know the clear. Because really, really expert level Karthus can do these clears, sometimes 20 to 30 seconds faster than what we were seeing even pro players do it as when it came into meta in the past.
Yeah, if we're doing it really well, the entire jungle is dead before 3:15. You are 6 camps before Scuttle spawns if you're doing a good clear here. So we'll keep track as this one goes. Obviously, you're kind of plugging E on and off. You don't have enough mana to always have this happen. You're trying to optimize around single target Qs on the big camp. It does double damage if it hit only a single guy. You're always kiting towards the lane, so as wolves die, you're already in mid. Flash play on the bottom side. The Berserker already ignited, stays alive. Nice little bit of CC from Winsome trading back on a Hansama. Early ignite is down. Ayla down flash, but of course has Hex Flash for round 2.
Yeah, they do have the HP advantage, but that's a boot start for Jhin, so he has more than enough sustain to actually get right back, and all they ended up getting was the heal for both the flash and the ignite there from Ayla. So I would say, all things considered, pretty darn good for the Cloud9 bot lane. And Blaber seems to be actually burning through this very fast. I mean, he had a leash, so of course you can do it even faster, but this is going to be like a 255 full clear here, which is ridiculously fast. He's going to be able to be, out towards that scuttle, continue that power farm, and if his lanes can stay stable, he is going to be feeling really, really good.
Yep, only difficulty can be the health bar gets a bit low at the end here. Early game red buff regen is not terribly high. Easy lay waste to knock down most of them, and got every single one. So beautifully done. 304. 304 camp is done. He's looking top lane. Yeah, he goes through a ward, but he's there in cases of play. Bwipo just burns the first body slam, and now a play in the bottom lane yet again. Winsome has to be careful, cannot jump over the chompers. Flash away. Second shuttle kill, and that is an over-aggression by C9's bot lane. And now Santorin's here for round 2. Berserker has no way out. That's the kill. Beautifully done. Team Liquid crushed the bottom lane.
Not long into this game, and they've already gotten Berserker's first death since playing in the LCS here, taking him out. It was incredible last weekend, but early on, TL running the show here. The aggressive plays on the 2v2, calling Santorin down, top to bot clear, ends up behind him, and they get the wraparound for that second kill. TL off to an incredible start here. It's not even 4 minutes in, and you're 1k up.
As Bwipo takes some farm down there, it's going to be 6 CS lead in the top lane. We also fight again. Chomper's really good, by the way. They block out Rakan's way out after this fight.
Yeah, so he goes in kind of aggressive, I think, trying to almost, dodge out on the hook, but then he has to walk the long way out. And this is really, I think, showcasing the power of Glacial Augment. Just landing the Flay and putting that slow zone meant that it took him so long to actually walk around the chompers there. You were getting free fired on by the Jinx that entire time, and that is why people are taking this and actually foregoing Aftershock. But to have that additional utility is so incredibly powerful. If you do not have a way to actually dash out of it, you are just basically full on CC'd.
And it means Winsome kind of read it wrong, right? Because he can flash over the chompers and just cut his losses really early at half HP, but didn't think, oh, I'm already dead here. And, again, misjudges it. Okay, fair enough, it happens, but we're onto the map now with a 1,000 gold lead to Team Liquid. Sure, the Karthus has cleared more camps, but TL's, to be fair, TL's bot lane got a 2-on-2 kill straight up, and then also got Santorin for the second one, so obviously looks really good down there. Bwipo has taken his first recall, his first TP back, now stacking a tier with his Doran's Ring. And just doing okay so far early on. And
I wonder, with the tier, I was thinking he was going to go into AP, because generally you see Phase Rush a lot more with AP. When people go full tank, they're often just kind of scrapping with Grasp. But with the tier, that's making me second guess that and thinking he may be going into a more of a tanky route here. It's possible, of course, he just gets tier for lane and then grabs some AP items. But I am kind of second guessing my initial read.
Both versions though. Like I've seen tier go into Seraphs because it is health and it's health on spellcast and whatnot. Like it's not, you can go that way or you can obviously go Fimbulwinter as you're kind of alluding to. Ruby Crystal doesn't tell us anything new.
No, but I have a feeling. I have a feeling that it's going to be Fimbulwinter Rush and just kind of playing that style. And if his job is to just kind of answer sides, I think a tankier build makes more sense. Maybe his feeling is, hey, I'm not going to win the side lanes against the Irelia or the Aatrox, so I'm just going to go tanky. I'm going to hold the wave, and I'm going to use Phase Rush to disengage any potential all-ins. Because you have Corki and Jinx, you don't really need more damage. Even Viego is very high damage, so I think that it actually makes quite a bit of sense, even though it's maybe the less common of the kind of pairings, tank plus Phase Rush.
Well, right now, I'm going to check on Fudge's build path. Right now, it could go Triforce, could go Ruin King, which I think is most likely. Also, Stridebreaker is a possibility. I think that item's actually been pretty good. After the other fighting items got changed around, it's not, less tanky than the other options, so that CC can be valuable. So we'll see where it goes in as time goes on. Cooldown Boots Rush for Summit gives him a ton of priority over that lane. He's got a ton of basically total AD ratio, so spell-based damage is quite high. Can just kind of stack haste early game and then go towards the... by the way, Stridebreaker Aatrox, by far best Aatrox build. even with the healing amp, it's like a 4% higher win rate than Gore Drinker. It's actually just like amazing on him, and the setup CC just makes your other stuff land. So that is a build I want to see happen more over time. Is Striberka Aatrox, though it is pretty uncommon right now.
Yeah, fairly uncommon, but I do think it can work really well. You're talking about setting up for the CCs and the slow into your W, the slow into a sweet spot with one of your Qs can be incredibly high value. Of course, people really do like some of those kind of more tanky options, obviously going towards the Core Drinker, so that seems to be the autopilot. And a little bit of a mess up there. Not going to slow him down too much, and has just been kind of power clearing through. He has his blue, his ult is ready, so I think that they would like to try to look for a play here. If you can get some sort of aggressive move where you can get value out of the ultimate, you're going to be feeling really good about kind of getting that on cooldown early, getting some value out of your first strike, starting to farm some additional kills, and look for those ultimate hunter stacks.
Worth noting that Santorin has kept up in farm, though. Obviously, again, got that gank down in the bottom lane. Blaber tried in top, but Bwipo got to play around it pretty well. Similar camp count, though, for the jungler of Team Liquid, so they're kind of just chilling right now as the lanes are going really close to equal. Mid lane is identical. Bot lane's ±6 with after the kill, kind of expected. Top lane basically identical as well, so a pretty chill early game. And as you mentioned in the early draft, C9 maybe a bit more focused towards early mid game. 8 minutes in, it's not like early game has ended just yet, so it's not like there's an immediate timer. But, do want to see them get something done before too long.
Yeah, it's really just such a different look than what we'd seen in other games, right? They've actually lost all 3 early games so far, in their LCS season. The other ones, though, was kind of the comeback based off of these dragon fights, utilizing their enchanters. If they can pull off the same thing here, remains to be seen. If TL will even give them those fights, remains to be seen. Because they could try to use some of the early game power, of things like the Aatrox, the Irelia on one item to try to go towards a second dragon, start to snowball that themselves. But because TL grabbed the first one, you're not really in any threat of a soul snowball. So I'm curious to see where they want to go. And right now, it feels like they're happy to just kind of just farm it out, play it really slow. And TL is going to be very happy to do the exact same when you're playing Jinx and Corki.
You see Bjergsen playing it pretty far back. Fudge going for his second attempt here. His stun is on cooldown. It doesn't go for the ulti out of the tower. That would have been a bit too much damage. Valkyrie back would have meant Bjergsen was safe, but obviously Fudge wants to play this lane as both of them at half HP. He's got more sustain. He's got the Pocket Karthus ultimate. That kill can come through if he gets him low enough. An attempt towards bottom lane, not really going to happen. Zap sidestep as well as Blaber says hello. He's going to walk back and kill his Gromp in about a second.
Blaber is just really trying to maximize farm, but they're... Oh, nice hook!
Good hook into Zap, into a ton of damage, and Berserker will die for the second time. Halves his KDA in 9 minutes, and now Winsome so terribly low. Sidesteps the rocket, no problem, but turret, yes, with a Rift Herald is going to be under fire and may drop here.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can actually keep the Karthus away from that tower. Blaber looking like he doesn't even want to try to contest, so they're probably just going to give up at least 4 plates here, unless Santorin wants to hold on for later. Oh, nice ult back into the tower.
One turret shot.
Mana, though.
Yeah, and I think Body Summon's already on cooldown, so can't get much more done. Summon ults just to make sure he can sustain back up with the Qs. And it's ult for ults, and you can see the farm lead has grown now. Summit has run Bwipo out of mana, and he's running him out of farm. May even get a turret plate down here as well. Keep in mind, Karthus ulti is up. If Summit finds the angle for an all-in, Bwipo only has flash to outplay it. Ooh, that second Q. That's good damage. That could be a flash kill. That, I think, flash kill plus Karthus would have maybe been lethal damage. Would have been really close. Could have maybe, just maybe, looked for a kill on Bwipo.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. They could have gone for it. Would have been really close. It's hard to know because the W is such low cooldown, gives damage reduction, and you have the passive heal coming through. And if you commit your flash there and it kind of goes sideways, can feel a little bit rough. Another Ruby Crystal coming in, so very likely going to be Fimbulwinter, but he is kind of committing to the early game a fair bit here. It'll be interesting to see where Summit can get to. Generally, if Aatrox can have the push, you're feeling pretty good in a lot of these melee versus melee matchups because you hard shove the wave to the tower and then you harass them trying to farm these range minions. Every single range minion Gragas really has to work for because Aatrox can stay out of range of that tower while still hitting you with the Qs, harassing you with the W. So you only really get access to the melees for free, and that is going to make these CS leads grow and grow and grow unless the Gragas can kind of play it perfectly.
Yeah. Well, the build path for Summit is going to be Gore Drinker. Caulfield's going to that one now as Package is burned out and Fudge flashed the Q back to a minion to stay alive as the Bwipo attempted gank could have been too much for him. Ulti was down, wasn't sure on the cooldown though. TL regardless going to get second dragon now in the bottom lane. They are heads up winning the bot lane 2-on-2. Ayla and Hansama crushing it. Here's another one, flight into the chompers. The charm going to mean almost nothing, but Jin's going to open up for a bit more. Will it happen? Ayla gets low, they got to block the shots, otherwise Karthus would kill. Low health bar, Santorin may pop, He might die. Ooh, just barely lives. But Fudge is in for a cleanup on the board. Cloud9 find a kill. Santorin at 1 HP. Smites for health. Finds a stun. Finds a bit more damage, but will die. Cloud9 on the board with 2. A flash away for Hans Sama.
This is 3 straight games. Fights in this area of the map that Cloud9 is behind on. They're able to find a fight. They're able to get a bit of a comeback play on that. Starting out there, TL looking for the pick on Winsome, but just didn't have the damage to get that kill right off the bat. And C9, with the collapse, with the turnaround there, getting high value out of this multi-man Karthus ult that everyone can kind of follow up on. Fudge was around, and now they're even looking to follow through here and try to get Hans. At the very least, they'll be able to get a plate or 2 here for themselves. But we'll have to back it up.
Speaking of getting a plate, Santorin didn't summon Herald when they were sieging bot. So I agree with your synopsis that, like, that would have been a lot of money. He wanted, I think, to get the entire turret, and you want to wait till it's down to 3k health before you summon, and they never got that far.
Wait, he actually
But
he
just
summon.
yeah, but now it gets summoned somewhere garbage, and, you know, maybe it still crashed, right? Maybe it still works to get the money at the end of the day. But that's a bigger risk, as they are playing towards bot side. If C9 can roam down, they can prevent a lot of gold from going over.
Yeah, I mean, Blaber's moving down, Fudge is moving down. I think they're too slow, unfortunately for them. They're not going to be able to stop the actual charge, so they will get that off and grab that 4th plate. So disaster kind of averted there for TL. It ends up being okay. But you can see all of the emphasis on vision towards this bottom side. I mean, look at all these wards. This whole section is just all Cloud9. That is where they have really made their money in the LCS. All 3 games, finding fights in this bottom side river, capitalizing on opponent mistakes, opponents overextending, has been incredibly, incredibly effective for them. Fudge now does have the Blade of the Rune King off that, so he's on a really strong item power spike. But Bjergsen is going, a fairly defensive build here. This is not the Luden's kind of AP style. This is going to be shield bow. It does give you a lot more safety against an early all-in, just to have that defensive kind of pop. And if you're expecting there to be a high amount of sustain between the Aatrox and the Irelia and these types of champions, and you're thinking poke is going to be less effective, having a higher DPS AD build, I think, can be more effective.
For sure. And so he's going to be surviving, and he's going to be team fighting quite well, knocking down some of the melees. He'll probably be attacking Summit a lot in these team fights. Gore Drinker is in for the man. Elba Ruby probably turns into a Bomby Cinder for Gragas when he buys. Turret plates are down. 14 minutes in, and we check in. 200 gold lead to Cloud9, but 2 Gragas to TL. Puts me in the driver's seat based on just the scoreboard at the top. And we can see if there's a top push to happen, but not really going to come through. Summit going to clean out most of the wave, and Hans Sama will go for some poke, but will it mean much is the question, as most of the waves dies. Single cast minion is dropped, not a big problem.
Gonna be see if it's a second item Shadow Flame here for Blaber, if he's just gonna try to go like straight towards Death Cap or something. Already has the Leandries, so likely gonna want to get some Sork Boots in there pretty soon. I do think Shadow Flame is really, really effective with Sork Boots when you're the solo AP threat, because you get so much of that magic pen and no one's building any defensive stats. Bwipo though,
He's gonna find the root after the knock-up. Ignited as well. Bwipo's gotta be careful, has an ulti, looks for it, doesn't find it. No one's back into the tower. Winsome sadly claims the kill, didn't want to get that one, but Ignite got the tick. That is still going to be a turret dropping in the bottom side. First turret of the game, 150 bonus gold. Almost all of it going towards the AD carry of Berserker. TL now going to overload top side for real. Seeing that Blaber's on the far side, they'll trade a turret back.
And they have a second Herald here, so we'll see if they want to continue the push. Based on the positioning of Eyla, they are just going to back it up after this and try to use that Herald very likely to crack the last tier 1 mid. But Bwipo, I think, getting a little bit overconfident based on the fact that he is a tankier, that he's building defensive. Thought he might be able to hold that turret, but honestly, the CC chain between Winsome coming in, knock up, you have the route to follow, you're getting multiple guaranteed Karthus Qs off onto this guy who doesn't really have any MR. I mean, built up a null now, but he didn't even have that prior, so Karthus was really shredding through him. Sork Boots do come through, so I am expecting probably you go towards Shadow Flame, you just stack up that spell pen, and really look to do massive, massive amounts of damage, because you don't want to be building any MR against Irelia, Aatrox, and Jhin. It's just not cost effective, but it does allow Blaber the chance to really take over in this game, and he's 2 levels up on Santorin currently. It's probably not a full 2, but that's a big deal. I mean, he's just been cruising, power farming this whole game. He has as much farm pretty much as some of these, farming carries.
Yeah, and it's going to look good for him. I mean, individual gold's going to be pretty high up there as well. I think he was able to share in, he might have shared in some of the bot turret gold. Obviously, he got to share in the assist down there on the Bwipo kill, but is farming well. Top lane under a bit of fire. Right now, though, it's going to be an ulti to, I don't know if they're stopping recalls.
Gold
I mean, he can just earn some money. Of course, he is level 11, has I believe, yeah, 3 individual stacks on Ulti Hunter, since there's only 3 individual deaths. He's got all the assists, so pretty short cooldown.
Yep, and first strike off of 2 ultimates has given him 390 gold. So, not bad.
He also ganked once.
He did gank once. I'm not sure how much he actually gained off of that, but pretty much, off of those 2 ultis, he's gotten that. And his ultimate cooldown is about 2 minutes, but if you're saying, well, we're not going to fight again until the next dragon comes up, well, it's not that big of a deal. Farm a little bit of gold here. Maybe that gets him an item completion. We'll see when he does actually go back to base, but yep, 3 stacks of Ulti Hunter. Has Futures Market available, has First Strike available, so that second item, Power Spike, will come in probably pretty soon.
And looking at that ulti, he hit it when his team was finishing killing Dragon as they claimed Dragon number 2. And it's like, well, second Herald's down, Baron's up for 3 minutes, Dragon's up for 5 minutes. In solo queue, don't make this play.
Yeah.
In solo queue, someone's gonna just run up there and fight somebody. In this kind of game, C9's gonna play it slow, they'll wait 2 minutes.
And I can tell you, they are all very well aware of this. Everyone on their team, as soon as he pressed R, they're spamming Karthus R 70 seconds, Karthus R 50 seconds. Fudge is pinging it, Blaber is pinging it. They're very clearly saying, hey, do not fight until Karthus ultimate is ready, and that's generally the way you want to play with this champion. It's such a powerful tool that you need to really kind of craft your fights around it and make sure that you have it ready to go every single time you're looking for a major engagement, whether it's a 1v1 in the side lane that can get that assistance or a major conflict around something like the Dragon or the Herald or the Baron. You've got to have that ready. And so far, it is Cloud9 with the vision advantage towards this bottom side river, but TL want to move in and try to reclaim that. They do have the Dragon advantage right now, but most of their vision had been towards the top side of the map, and you're kind of in this split map situation where Cloud9 has all these wards down in this area, clearly trying to set up to allow Fudge to start pushing out more heavily in that bottom lane. And up on the top side, it's all this vision for TL, trying to kind of emphasize different sides of the map, and that really does show you where they've been putting their priority.
Yeah, but of course right now, Dragon's the part that matters, right? You mentioned it before, 3 games in a row, it's the bottom river fights that have worked for C9, now TP to the bottom lane. Careful to 2v1, explosive cast back, and Fudge has had no chance against Bwipo. It's gonna happen again. Bjergsen shows up, sends him back down. There's a kill on the board. That should not quite kill Bwipo. Indeed, it will not. It was up from cooldown, that's nice and all, but he is a tanky Gragas with a mythic.
So he was at 390 gold. A little update, 618.
Wow.
So he got 240 gold thereabouts off of that. Pretty huge amount. That's almost a kill. And that is one of the powerful things about this build, is that you can actually play this setup, and especially if you're playing in solo queue and you can get 5 early Ultimate Hunter stacks, you can start to kind of spam this out and get very, very rich. Of course, if you're being too silly with it, you get 200 gold, then you go into a fight, you don't have your ultimate, and your team loses. Well, that's not worth it. But still, seeing that you press R and you get almost an entire kill's worth of gold is pretty crazy.
Yeah, so your ultimate right now is a pass that reads, you gain 2 gold per second. Congratulations, you're roaming Janna. That's... that. Now,
it sounds cooler the way I said it, Phreak.
It is cooler.
Take it back.
I just like, recalculating things in terms of other numbers.
Yep.
And to be fair, in a game where nothing's happening, earning 2 gold per second is not bad.
Especially when he's at 9 CS per minute now, right? He is farming very, very effectively.
He's richest, except for, the other 2 on TL, but richest on his team.
He's richest except for the people that are richer than him.
Yes, richest of Cloud9. we'll recalculate and use that as our barometer.
Recalibrate here.
Yeah, my bad.
Get back on track.
Yeah, my bad. But there we go. See, total gold. Bjergsen and Hans Sama, the marksmen of Team Liquid, are the ones with the money. 2 dragons to their name, and Infernal Soul is the name of the game here as time moves on. 1:14 to go. We know Karthus ult will be back up. This is the fight to look for because now both teams have everything ready to go. Second item spike is in for both the bot landing carries. 2 item spike is in for Bjergsen. We're almost there for Fudge. Minute to go until he has finished Trinity Force, and that'll be the big fight.
And man, you can actually see that they're getting pretty worried about this Karthus. It's actually a Hex Drinker coming through here for Santorin, right? And that's something that you definitely do not want to be forced into when these are 3 of the big carries on the other side. You're going to get no value from that. I do think Ma is incredibly effective now. Overall, the magic damage shield scales with your AD. You get the lifeline passive again, so it's a really, really strong item if he's going to be building towards it. But that being said, not nearly as effective as it would be in a multi-AP game, which you would kind of be expecting. Even the stopwatch, I feel like the stopwatch is more about the Karthus ultimate and being able to deny that on the side of Bjergsen. There is high value there. and he can later build it into a GA, but it's going to be rapid fire third here for the Corki. Likely pick up an IE later, so probably going to be sitting on that stopwatch for a long time.
Interesting risk taken here. The ulti is down for Hansama, but it stopped Blaber's recall, so no death cap, no reset, no way back in as the Dragon setup is here. TL spending resources to make this fight a little bit easier, but they are without Super Mega Death Rocket. They have Corki package, but no death cap on Blaber, level 13, so all his damage abilities are maxed. He stopped scaling aside from gold from this point on, basically.
Are they too slow?
I mean, they're trying to burn it.
It's going down.
I mean, they're keeping him zoned out, right? You've got some chompers down pretty soon, and that's going to be a burn. That's going to be the kill picked up. Karthus ulti for a little bit of something, but is it going to matter as Summit is dropped low into the front line? Winsome wants it, flashes back to safety. Jhin opens up as well, but Summit will drop as TL scale and find that kill. Out they go. Dragon and a kill. Team Liquid playing the mid game better.
And playing it much better there. C9 just couldn't find a way in, and they tried to kind of force it there pretty hard. They dropped the Karthus ult. Yes, that's a couple hundred more gold in the pockets of Blaber, but that combined with the Jhin ulti is supposed to be their opening. Summit goes over the wall, but he was so low when he did go in that he's able to just kind of be knocked down here, and Cloud9 are in trouble because that is sole point now for TL. Their carries are outscaling, and TL is just playing stock standard game here. Cloud9 doesn't have an enchanter in the mix, doesn't really have anything too crazy unless you kind of consider that Karthus to be their real big trump card. But even that, I mean, it's paired with two solo laners that I don't consider to be real big scaling picks, so they're not really playing a super late game comp, and they're playing it slow against a team that has both Corki and Jinx, and that is going to be very, very difficult to deal with here unless they can get some sort of side lane pressure, unless they can get something going with this Irelia and this Aatrox that have been pretty absent throughout the game.
They have been, honestly. Fudge was trying in the side lane. We saw Bwipo actually handled him in the 1v1. We saw Bjergsen TP down, but it looked like Bwipo won that one anyway. Like, he was already ahead, 80% health, and so that's looked really good. Unfortunately, Fudge, hasn't quite made it work. Like, his best games have been on the ones where he's on Soraka, right? He's just like, yeah, I'll just heal Blaber. It's fine. We'll just, play through him. And his individual plays haven't quite been there, unfortunately. We'll see as time goes on, though, as he's got his second item. Triforce is in. Death Cap is in. Death Stand's now here for the Aatrox as well. I mean, these are some good power spikes to be sure, as Hansama goes towards a Bloodthirst to make sure he stays safe. And we're seeing that TL are forced into, against Skarner's the QSS tax, against this Karthus, it's like the defensive option tax, where, we've got against 1 AP, Hexmaker second. It's Bloodthirster third for Jinx when she would...
An early stopwatch.
Love to go IE. Right, the shield bow Corki build, he's not going for poke, he's going for, let's make sure I don't get one shot by anything. And, that can matter as team fights open up if no one's building against the Jhin yet.
It definitely can, but I actually think it's pretty smart, going into the lifesteal there, because Karthus, especially now on Death Cap with that spell pen, that is a very threatening ultimate. If you don't have lifesteal in the build, just that ultimate can say, okay, now you can't fight anymore because the threat of someone diving onto the Jinx and finishing off is incredibly high. But with the shield bow and the Corki, with the Bloodthirster coming up here on TL, can't do that, but they're going to look for the engage, and the TPs are coming through. It's double TP.
Flank not quite on the toppers yet, though. Is going to be enough. Those Fudge to the front line, looks towards the bot lane. It's a flash to save the Hansama. Summit getting low, but he's healing back up against the Corki. Never delaying his death, and he will finally. No, he cleanses it. If he didn't kill Bjergsen, he was going to die, as Death Stance would have ticked him down. So Summit solo kills the TL mid laner.
This is huge for them. That is their big swing, and now they're going to try to turn it into something more. They need the Baron here, so they're starting it up. Bwipo is there. Hansama has healed up off the Raptor camp. He's coming over, but that Baron is going down so fast. Santorin has ulti, but no flash. Can he actually get in the pit here?
Stealth. Can he find his way in? Wards, where are they? Vision is needed, and jumps in, can't find it. He'll die as it's Berserker who claims the kill, claims the Baron. Cloud9 have it. Cloud9 walk away the 3,000 gold lead.
Man, they pull it off again. It feels like they keep getting these rough situations, but they're finding ways to fight out of it. The double TP flank coming through. Beautiful setup there from Cloud9. They hard engage off of this, and these close fights end up going their way. This was just really nicely done. They're pushing out both sides. TL comes for the collapse, but it's an instant double TP. The ulti from Karthus in the back can't be stopped. Bwipo tried to move forward to actually ult it on the Gragas. Unfortunately, it was a split second too late, and that meant all of these health bars were softened up. Their three-man core had to kite back in mid lane immediately. Hansama had to Gale Force and flash out. He was incredibly low. And we're back to live. Nice sidestep.
Huge by Fudge. A lantern there for safety. Bwipo will live, but mid lane turret will not, as that one's answered after the Baron play. And so far, Rebel Baron buff, 2,000 gold lead, Cloud9. Not gonna quite siege mid yet, gonna play for the bottom vision instead.
And this may actually prevent TL from being able to play for this next dragon here, for looking for that soul point. It's a TP flank now, though, from TL. Oh, the ultimate got stopped!
Oh, that's big. Bjergsen is packed as well. Will he team fight? Looks like not just yet. They flay in Winsome, and now they can look for a fight here. A flash away for Blaber, just barely alive. Bjergsen holding the package. In the backline, we have more action as Bwipo shuts down one. That's gonna be rough for Santorin. Jumps over the wall, just barely stays alive. Bwipo lower and lower, but Fudge can't kill him just yet. Bjergsen now looking for a bit more as they push back on Hansama. He will drop, and just barely Fudge will live. Santorin on the way out, a knock up there for Summit, and he wants that kill back. Bwipo on the way away, just barely living. 2 dead on TL's side, 2 slain for Cloud9.
That is such a close fight, but C9 fight their way out of it. Berserker and Summit staying healthy. That means they will get the ultimate prize of this dragon, stopping the soul there from TL. It looked like it was TL's fight to win on that initial play, because they were able to actually prevent the Karthus ult from coming through. You thought that might be the difference maker. When Karthus goes down early, he doesn't even die at a good spot. He can't get the ulti off, but the rest of C9 getting so much value, and Blaber just too close to actually these wards when he's starting up the ulti. I think he thought he was safe here because they have the Jhin ult creating space, but he just does it in their face. Santorin W flashes in, stuns him up. Blaber has to flash out, and you can see the flank here from Bwipo. He's gonna wrap around, and as Blaber is actually pushed out, he comes in for that cleanup kill. But Summit now on the corner here. He comes around to arrive as they hook in onto Berserker. Summit straightforward, gets the kill, gets the reset, pushing Santorin back, and he is incredibly healthy here fighting from the side. Fudge queuing over to those minions, regrouping with the team, getting the kill with his W. The Triumph heal keeps him alive. Slim margins, but great team fighting there from Cloud9, fighting their way out of what was a very difficult situation. Off of a great capitalize there from Santorin, punishing Blaber for being a little bit too far forward. That could have been game-changing. If they win that fight and they get soul, that could be game-losing, but credit to Cloud9 for being able to make it work.
Summit's done a lot. I mean, honestly, he has been such a huge factor that obviously he can't be really the one killed first. He's too tanky and able to wear someone down in the topside fight, right? He solo killed Bjergsen, basically. In this one, he did so much to force everyone else away that it created space for anything else to do nicely. So Cloud9 are able to claim that second dragon. You can see their gold lead growing and growing. They still have to face Soul Point. They know it's always going to be a consideration every 5 minutes.
And one of my concerns is the lack of actual heal cut, over on this TL side. When you look through, there's a Bramble Vest and then an Ignite, and that's it. And Summit's self-healing is getting ridiculously high. He even goes in towards the Spirit Vestige third here, so going to be able to help him deal with Gragas and Corki, but also really amp up that self-healing that is already getting to these ridiculous levels here with this high-level Aatrox, level 16, Gore Drinker in, Irelia self-healing is going to become pretty high as well. So they're going to have some heal cut, or if Aatrox sits in the middle of your team, he's going straight back to full with 1 Q that lands in the Gore Drinker. Oh, wow, interesting. So Hansama did actually just make a pit stop for the Vamp, not going into full BT, feels that he needs the higher DPS, so I think this is a great adaptation if you just feel like you need a little bit of sustain to be able to heal through that poke, expecting the ultimate to soften you up, heal back up off the wave, go towards the IE to really emphasize that, and now does realize the problem, picks up the Executioners here, and I think that is an important buy. But Blaber is becoming terrifying. He now completed the Shadow Flame, so a lot of flat spell pen. There's 0 MR on someone like Hansama, on someone like Bjergsen, and that is a lot of AP that is going to be behind this ultimate. He is level 16 on the Karthus. You're talking 900 damage before procs, before the amp from first strike as well. So well over 1k damage that's going to come out from that button on every single player. Of course, mitigated by your base magic damage, but still, that is a lot of damage coming out. And if Cloud9 can capitalize on that with an immediate follow-up from Fudge, Winsome, Summit, etc., they can win a fight off it.
Yeah, because keep in mind, he's got 30-something Magic Pen against pretty much every target. So it is going to deal almost 2 damage to Hansama, and that's going to be a pretty big threat. So what is next on the map? 90 seconds until the Dragon comes up. Once again, that would be Soul for Team Liquid. We've got a Baron, though, even sooner, 15 seconds away. Hansama just keeping the farm going. As he mentioned, there is that pit stop for the Executioner's Calling, so delaying and actually just never gets to buy now a Lord Dominic's or anything else for higher DPS. Just going to be doing his best to wear down an Aatrox on 3 items. Be careful. Body slam is in. Pulled around explosive cast. Ulti is solid from the Karthus now. Is it enough though? Bwipo tanking the front line. Out they go. A bit of poke is
They're
done.
trying to start Baron off of it.
Bwipo's almost dead. Does sidestep the last shot that hits Eyla down to half HP. And so they try with lower health bars. Do TL walk up? They might have to try, but the vision's not there for him. Blue Trinket used and not going to find the root just yet, but they're just going to burn it down. That is Baron claimed. That is TL zoned off the map and taking the fight now afterwards. First kill's going to come down. Eyla is gone. Fudge walks away. Summit goes back in though. 1v4 for a bit. Very tanky. Zonya's Hourglass. That's going to buy him some time. That's going to kick him out and they will
reset
down. That's one in for Hansama. But the other second, there's Blaber going down. No ulti, nothing else to do. Try to back though as Santorin is down. Could not find a corpse. Explosive cast. Rocket 1 is not a threat, but the red buff does enough. Hansama on for 3 kills.
What a game so far, Phreak. Back and forth. These two titans in the league are slugging it out. Cloud9 utilizing the Karthus ult to just get a chunk and actually start up the Baron, and now they're trying to go for Soul here. Blaber is dead, Berserker is dead, Summit is dead. It's up to only Fudge and Winsome. I don't think they can test here. I think it has to be.
They're not allowed, right? It's illegal. It's 3v2. You're gonna package again?
All right, so back to the previous play. This is post-Karthus ultimate. Cloud9, just immediate rush down on this. They get that first kill. The start of the play looks great for C9, but then you're kiting back and you're going through these corridors where it is very, very difficult. Eyla dropped the box that everyone had to walk through. Bjergsen is safe. Hansama is safe. The TL frontline have done their job. They get those resets, are pushing them back, allowing that scaling to really take effect from the Corki, from the Jinx, and then over the wall here, they get vision with the rocket, with the chompers coming through, with the ultimate coming through. Doesn't get the crit, but does have the red buff. The burn is enough to get him a kill. Now he has the BT completed off of that play. Hansama truly online here. Highest damage dealer, just barely over Berserker in that last fight. And he is going to be such a huge threat because they couldn't force the flash in the last play.
Oh, that is a great cast backwards. And yes, the Infernal Soul was claimed, and they've also gotten Blaber's head. Down goes the Karthus. Level 18 as he dies, knocking down some minions, so he is absolutely done scaling on levels. That last damage graph probably didn't show the Karthus ult, so that would have added probably 2k as well, but even post-ult, 2,000 damage done in that team fight, 5k for both bot lane marksman. Hook attempt, not going to find anything. Bwipo holds the tower for a bit. He's tanky enough not to die just yet.
And thankfully for Cloud9, the Baron buff is actually a great anti-siege tool because those minions can help you push out, can become very difficult to actually push through here. They don't have great wave clear though with this squad. It's pretty much just up to Berserker. Everyone else has very dangerous wave clear, and Eyla is lurking around the side here looking for these hooks, but they're going forward.
Good early damage. No Karthus, why are you defending a turret? It's 4 versus 5! Cloud9 sends, they lose a top laner, and they may just lose the game. Blaber is still dead. No business defending their base, and they may lose the game for it. As we have an ulti, it's going to be some decent damage. A locket shield. A stopwatch is late for Bwipo. Will that be a kill? No, Cloud9 cannot get back in. They're missing a top laner. As the mid inhibitor is down, C9 can farm it for 5 minutes, but they do not have map control anymore.
Cloud9 was trying to thin out those waves. You know, Summit trying to utilize the Qs to help clear it out. Bwipo had a great ulti, punishes him on the step forward. They get the kill, but they can't close out this game. Can they stop the recall here?
Oh, no.
Oh, they spotted him.
Bwipo with the greedy recall, rooted in place, charmed as well. This has got to be a kill, and it's going to be picked up. Suddenly, Cloud9 get a sign of life. There's not much to take is the problem. Neutrals are down, and the turrets are far from reach, but they will be 5v4 for 45 seconds.
You buy themselves a little bit of time. You can push out the side waves, try to really get the map state in your favor, then potentially look for some sort of play. But these carries are becoming very problematic. The IE is now done for Bjergsen as well. GA comes through here for Santorin, so big pickups for a lot of these key members. Berserker does have his IE. He is big, you know, working towards probably the last item, GA. The GA is probably going to be finished up here pretty soon for Summit. Fudge working towards that as well. So everyone picking up a lot of items here. But it does feel, unless C9 can find those good engages, can find those kind of tricky angles and plays, it's very difficult to just straight up fight against Hansama and Bjerg, who have those summoners who are so incredibly powerful when protected by the front line of Bwipo and Eyla. And it's difficult for Irelia and Aatrox to fight through the Thresh box and the Glacial Augment Slow and the Gragas and all of these difficulties. So they need to find, clever plays like the Baron Rush or multi-man flanks and double TPs like they were able to orchestrate mid lane. But those are much more difficult to pull off than I would say the win conditions that TL has.
Take the team fight, get a Locket, group up for the Karthus ulti. Keep in mind, Locket's shield decays instantly, so time it well. If you're late, you're really trolling. If you're not too early, it's gonna block most of the damage.
And Eyla has been very good, with that Lantern shield as well. Not something that you can kind of overlook. At this stage in the game, the Lantern, is 170 shield to that one ally, so he's been throwing it on Hansama every single time. You add that in, with the Locket shield, which is up to about 385 shielding there. That it does decay down from, so that's a significant amount that you can mitigate. And GA now done here for Han, so he is fully kitted out. BT has the lifesteal to heal through it. That's going to become much less effective unless you drop the Karthus ultimate and immediately force a response. You can't actually drop the Karthus ult and then wait 30 seconds because he will heal the full off of a wave. You kind of have to set it up like they did last time, where it's Karthus ult, instant Baron start. Karthus ult, instant Elder start. Karthus ult, instant flank, or it's going to get no value.
Exactly, they just regen back up, and that's going to be dangerous. Keep in mind, there is a Bloodthirster on the Hansama Jinx, so if she has access to a wave at all, your ult did literally nothing, and she goes back to the full BT shield. Yeah, Hansama, of course, gets to block like 1,000 damage with all the shields combined, BT included. We got to play maybe towards mid, slow, could have looked good. Karthus ulti for the disengage, damage on a Bjergsen.
It got stopped. He got cast on it again. He was too close. Bwipo got in there, hits him with the ult on the Gragas. That is a big deal. Late game, this ultimate is such a big part of their composition, and it's a 100-second cooldown still, even with the ultimate Hunter stacks. So that means it's not going to be available for the Elder fight.
Time to play for Dragon, time to play for Baron.
Bwipo!
Bwipo in the front, he gets the charm, and they got the kill. Shut down for one, Trader now, no, just 2 for 0. Looking at the rest of the front line, GA popped now, and that's gonna be Summit left to simply die. The skill shots come early, but he is still gonna drop, buys some time valiantly, but it's not gonna be enough. Overextension though, Eyla gets himself knocked down. They're gonna try in the 2 versus 4, do everything they possibly can, but Bjergsen, or Berserker, doesn't have the damage. Azonia's for a second. GA popped on 1, that's the kill, that's gonna be the ace, that's everyone down, and Cloud9 will drop their first game of the Spring Split. Team Liquid fight back valiantly from a loss in Game 1 of Spring. They will knock down Cloud9, and Team Liquid 2-1 in the LCS.
Bwipo with the big plays when it counted in the late game here. The ultimate to stop Blaber's Requiem, then the engage over the wall there, finding the perfect angle onto Cloud9. Bjergsen and Hansama able to follow up. TL coming away with a strong win here, but this was a tightly contested game. The early game, again, going heavily towards TL. They had a very comfortable start to this game, but Cloud9, you've got to give credit where credit is due. They found great TP flanks, they found great setups, and ways to actually make use out of this Karthus ultimate. But at the end of the day, it was TL that was more solid, that really, I think, showed up in those final moments when it counted, and was able to have such great performances from their carries, such great performances from Bwipo, to really be that difference maker in the final moments.
Well done to Bwipo. Huge ultimates from the wide Bwipo himself. And, I mean, Blaber on your screen. It's 2 Karthus ults that were whiffed for casting that spell too aggressively. And you're not expecting every single time, oh, die, then ult. Like, a lot of playing Karthus as well is getting the preemptive ones out. Keep in mind, you actually can't get first strike if you die first. You've been in combat already for too long. But they were too far up. One of them, he got blocked by a Viego walking at him and pressing W. Right?
It was a flash W.
Okay, it was a flash W. Walked then flashed then W, but that turned into a kill. And it gave him a close fight. The other one, I think, Body Slam, max
range cast.
So it's like they were too close up. It's credit, of course, to TL for reacting in time and getting those plays out. A lot of credit to me goes to Hansama, 8-1 and 7 or vice versa on the Jinx. Played really, really, really well. They won the 2-on-2 straight up. It then set up for the dive. Okay, great. But, I mean, they were just kind of great the entire time. Those 2 players did outstandingly. And then, yeah, they came back from a rough situation.
I mean, this was honestly a really, really exciting game. It was so back and forth. It did feel like in the early stages, okay, well, it's just going to be TL kind of cruising to a win. But C9 showed that was very clearly not the case. Summit was amazing. Fudge, I think, coordinating with him on those TP flanks really kind of changed the game and made it very, very competitive.
Well, a very fun game. Team Liquid reign supreme in today's service. And then we'll be hearing from head coach Giotto on the analyst desk in a few minutes. But right now, we're joining LeTigress on stage with Bwipo for our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you, Phreak. Bwipo right here by my side. I'm so happy to have you in the studio, you and the rest of Team Liquid. So what is it like? It's been a while since you've gotten to be here in person.
Yeah, it's amazing. It feels much better. I don't know what to say. It is special still. Obviously, the crowd is missing, which is a damn shame, but still the experience on stage is very different, and it is just special.
And so much energy, not just from being on stage, but the way that that game was playing out. How do you keep yourself so collected to be able to pull off a lot of the plays in the late game like you had to pull off this victory?
By making some mistakes. It's the simple way, you know. It's trial and error, and you know sometimes you just have to feel it out. In these long and drawn out games, I had some whiffs. I had some good ones. It is what it is, right? Like I remember there was a really important fight where I didn't cancel the Karthus, and then I wasn't also there to peel for my backline, and it was just a total disaster. And like that fight helped me recalibrate how I wanted to play the next few fights, and then I was able to find a better success after trial and error.
Well, those mid-game adjustments are a lot harder to execute than, easier it is to say. And when it comes to Cloud9, what's it like prepping for them compared to other teams?
We got lucky we didn't play them on Sunday, to be honest. So there was that. But I don't know. I tried to reassure my team. Is like, look, they're a team that can pull out special stuff. So let's just play a draft that's, we're going to be fine in the late game, and let's just see if we can match them there. And that was what I thought was the best strategy. Ultimately, Bjerg made the call to go for the Corki Gragas, and I think it was a really good call. Yeah, let's just match them in the late game and see how it goes. And it turns out we drafted a few better champs late game than they did, and it was good.
What is it like mixing all of those veteran voices? Because you just mentioned Bjerg making the call, but you've had a strong voice in game, Santorin as well. Does it jive together, or is there ever conflict?
I mean, there's obviously conflict, right? Any good team has conflict. The question is, how do you solve it, right? What are the solutions you find to the conflict you end up in? And so far, I've been pretty happy with the solutions we found. We're all working towards finding a solution. Like, the purpose of conflict is to find a solution. It's not just to, get upset, we lost a game, or, someone's agitated or frustrated. That happens, but it's all coming from a good place where everyone wants to find a solution to play better as a team. And it is very nice.
I do want to dig a bit more into the dynamic, because across multiple interviews, you've talked about wanting to turn a new leaf as a person and a player. You have Santorin, who's feeling a lot better because of a lot of the medical issues coming and standing on by. Bjergsen coming back onto the stage after a long time. Do you feel there's a lot of renewed energy across you all individually that's working well? For sure.
I think that having the right mindset is really important, and being, mentally prepared to do what you need to do, and, be selfish as well as selfless is really important in a team. And I think that having the right balance, especially, Bjergsen having the perspective of a coach. Now that I came in, I have the perspective of a jungler as well from last split. This really, I think, gives us an edge where we talk to each other. And sometimes I just tell Santorin, like, hey, dude, like, I would never move for my laner there, right? Like, I would never help him there. You should be more selfish. You're really good in the game. And I think that having these discussions really helps each other. And I do think, in a way, we're the comeback kids, like we didn't really have the best last year, or we didn't play at all in Bjergsen's case. And now we're planning on coming back strong.
Now with this idea of coming back strong, wanting to have a good statement on the stage, you're getting a taste of some of the other teams within the league. Who's standing out as maybe some early rivals for yourself and Team Liquid?
Well, my coach's draft's pretty good, pretty big rival. No, I'm just I do think draft is a really important aspect of the game in the current meta. I think that based on what you're drafting, I feel like there are some draft diffs in a lot of the games that we're seeing. I do think there are some champions that are very powerful in competitive play, and that's why I can't really say. In terms of like individual player skill, there's obviously some very talented players in the LCS. There's no doubt about that, and I haven't quite been able to measure out all of them to say with fairness who I have my own right now.
Well, we are actually about to get to hear directly from Coach Giotto on the other side of this. Anything you want to say to him directly before we head that way?
Good job picking late game. Like, good job.
Good job, Coach. Good job, says Bwipo. All right, let's go ahead and hear from the man himself and the rest of the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you so much, LeTigress. Straight from Bwipo. Good job, Coach. Good job. But we are lucky enough to be joined by Gilhoto of the victorious Team Liquid. Before we get into some of the specifics, I know we have a whole bunch of questions as a result of that game. I just kind of want to get a reaction straight from you. It wasn't an easy one. And so how do you reflect on that game and its immediacy?
I think it should have been an easy one from what the early game went. I think if our Jinx gets ahead, it gets a very hard game for them to play. But I guess our players wanted to make it a good game to watch and for the viewers. But obviously, C9 is just an incredibly hard team to prepare against. 1 week they're playing the Soraka, Ivern's mid. This time they just won 2 Irelia. After that, obviously, we know that Karthus or Evelyn is coming, but it's still a surprise for us. And then the only idea that we had coming into this game is that just pick late game versus them and hope for the best.
That's the counter strategy there. Just go late. I was going to kind of ask how preparation works for a team like this because they've already shown such a willingness to, flout what other people might consider strong. And then, of course, you know that with a bunch of capable players out there on the stage, they can always return to what is maybe considered normal or meta. So how do those discussions go with your players, for example, as you're trying to hone in on what strategy you're going to bring to the stage?
I mean, if we see even C9, obviously there's like a lot of talk about them being off meta. I think this is the first very different draft that we see from any other regions, because in other regions, the bot lanes that they are picking, top laners, junglers, were all the same. Just there was a change in the mid lane champion. This one was the first one that it felt that it was very different. Like it was very different of Jinx being open and not picking it and picking Jhin. And they obviously have a very strong idea of what they want to play. And from last week and this week, the change was, in my opinion, so big in terms of what they've shown that. It's obviously going to be a scary team, especially coming into best of fives. Now, they have great players, but I don't see them as unbeatable or anything like that. It's just you just have to be more diligent on your preparation.
You talk about like the strategy going in a little bit being you want to outscale them, you want to have that kind of in your back pocket as well. How much tailoring is it about your opponent versus like what your team thinks they're really good at? For example, like Bwipo played Gragas this game, and he can play Gragas, but everyone so far has been excited, like, hey, the Bwipo Graves and all the more aggressive champions. So how does it go into preparing for an opponent?
I think a lot of it comes through us, right? The adaptations that we need to make for a team should be much smaller than investing on what we are good at. Obviously, what counts will be playoffs, and we want to win every game, but at the same time, you guys are tired of hearing that bullshit, right? It's like
never feed it to me. I love it.
It's like preparing in yada yada.
Yeah.
It is true. Like we have to invest in ourselves and then try to make little adjustments. I'm also incredibly lucky of having 5 players that are willing, or 6 players that are willing to play.
I was going to say, who are you? Poor JJ is not flexible.
You're closing in on 10 whole players that you could,
No, but at least from like the regular split, that are incredibly flexible as well. And it's just really good for us to be able to put Bwipo on Graves, but at the same time put him on Gragas and have a different duty, and somehow kind of carrying the game as well with that last engage.
That engage was sick.
It was insane. But yeah, I'm just lucky to have that. C9 has it, but so do we.
I think one thing that's really interesting to me about this team, and something I talked to Soren about before the season started, was the idea of a bunch of veteran players coming in and all having like a very set idea of how to play the game. He said that that's not as like dramatic as the community thinks. But then Bwipo also brought up in his interview about how it's really easy to talk things through, even when there is conflict. So just generally, I wanted to know what the team dynamic is between you and the team, and then also the players themselves.
I think it's basically what they said in interviews. Obviously, everyone was very successful on the team that they were in, and they obviously have a very clear idea of how they want to play. But that doesn't mean that they are closed-minded in that idea. And the main thing about all players that we have is that their main goal is just to win and to do whatever is best in order to win. So if someone has to sacrifice and going into the other side or around their beliefs, and we obviously had discussions, we had a lot of discussions already like that I don't think that's good, but I'll do it next time to see it type of conclusions. So everyone is willing to go on to that. If I'm saying, if another player is saying, if Cold is saying, everyone has been very open-minded. Obviously, as a coach, I always wanted to be more, but it's something that is not a problem, and I feel like we are getting faster and faster on the same page.
All right, you're always a spicy guest on the desk. You're the first one so far this year. Who in the standings is a fraud to you? Up in the top, you have 100 Thieves up there, Dignitas, FlyQuest. I think a lot of them are a little surprised. You have EG up there, Cloud9. Based off scrims and what you have going on behind the scenes, you know, give me your hot take on the standings right now.
I mean, I said this on the previous interview. I think that all teams are pretty close, and that LCS is more competitive in the regard of like teams taking games off each other than the counterpart in Europe. Meaning that I don't think we have a team as strong or a team as weak. And so it can happen at IMT without winning a single game this year. Now wins against 100 Thieves. So who is a fraud? I think that if we look...
You're the fraud, Mark.
No.
You're the fraud for asking that question.
I'll give it the hot take. You know?
Let's see it.
I just want to explain, like, this is who I think won't be at the top when it reaches to the end of Spring Split. That team, I think, is going to be Dignitas and 100 Thieves.
Ooh, that's a little hot.
That is hot. Okay.
No, just because I think that 100 Thieves came with the highest
Expectations.
starting point, per se. But I still feel like a lot of their mistakes are similar to last year. And I don't see... If you had 1 year to work on something, it's harder for me to imagine that you're going to improve on them in this year. I still think they are an incredibly strong team. I'm not here saying that, like, being a fraud doesn't mean that they are now not making it to playoffs or anything like that. I just think that when it comes to first place spot, which is still where they are with the 2-1, I think that them and Dignitas are probably the ones that can fall down at later stages of the year.
We've talked a lot about strategic diversity currently in the LCS, especially after week 1, but even prior to that and somewhat last year. So first of all, would you agree that the LCS does have a pretty good, like, diverse set strategies from team to team?
Well, I don't know if I would call it good. I would just say that they have diversity. There is diversity for sure. Yes.
Some of those are going to fall apart later on in the year.
There is diversity for sure. I mean, I think we are the only region playing Smite top. Obviously, Cloud9 with all the different strategies. I think the other ones are pretty much standard. I guess we can say that, like, Dignitas has, like, the most ganking jungler in the whole league. So I guess that's part of the diversity. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot, but I don't know if I would call it good, just diverse.
Do you think it's at least good for the league to be able to have so many different strategies to go up against?
Yeah, no, that I 100% believe. I think I'm a firm believer that when what made Europe so strong was G2's ability to innovate and to play the pike top and the Cassio flex, that we would go into scrims and there was every game 5 there was a Shyvana lock-in and you don't know what's going on. And then that's incredibly good for a region to, regardless of what champions you have, understanding the concepts that you want to make and how to win the game. I think LCS has that diversity. I don't think it's close to being as profound as the Europe golden era, let's say it. So I don't want to bring, like, the copium or the high horse. There's diverse, but it's not. I don't think it's going to have the same impact as G2 had in Europe that year. But it is certainly gonna have a positive impact in the league.
Well, I like the analogy, but I'll temper expectation then as
Not me.
Couch it. No, Mark's already.
I'm riding the
he's been
train
tweeting it out. NA's gonna win Worlds, or you at least just gave Phreak permission to tweet that out. Gilotto, thank you so much for jumping on the desk with us early on in the split. Congratulations on the victory today. On the other side, we got Golden Guardians and CLG ready to grapple to gain momentum and claim their first win of spring. We'll see you back here in just a bit.
Wait, they're both.
But he's healing back up against the Corki, never delaying his death, and he will finally. No, he cleanses it.
Hooks, but they're going forward.
Good early damage. No, Karthus, why are you defending a turret? It's 4 versus 5. Oh, Eyla gets himself knocked down. They're going to try in the 2 versus 4, do everything they possibly can, but Bjergsen, or Berserker, doesn't have the damage. Azonia's for a second. GA popped on 1. That's the kill. That's going to be the ace. That's everyone down, and Cloud9 will drop their first game of the Spring Split.
This is a league built on speed and precision, where everything needs to perform at a pro level. especially your hardware.
They block the road. They want to complete the final piece of the puzzle. They don't have enough damage for it, but who cares? It's all a formality, baby. The winner of LCS Lock-In.
Even if you're hard stuck plat, like me, forever. Roccat, the official mouse and keyboard of the LCS.